Ending the stream on like how this epilogue ends is also really nice. A nice kind of way of actually ending this. Because here's a microblog from assumedly 2027. Like so many, I enjoyed my time with the original Stanley Parable, which underscores how truly disappointed I am with its sequel. Where the first game teamed with originality, the Stanley Parable 2 is dull, uninspired, and often insulting to its fanbase. Rather than expanding on what made the first game enjoyable, the sequel veers off into territory nobody asked for. An infinitely deep hole, who cares? Where are the new endings? What about the enjoyable bits from the Stanley Parable 1, like the adventure line? Instead, we get an uninspired side quest collecting figurines. Even this diversion feels incomplete. Collecting all the figurines gives you nothing. I must say, though, I found the bucket to be a quite comforting and welcome reprieve. So here is a blog set like 5 years after, 4 to 5 years after Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe is released. This one also an undetermined amount of time in the future. That is such a small thing. I didn't read this before. By signing up, you agree to our privacy notice, and European users agree to the data transfer policy. That is so insidious. That is so insidious, but also incredibly smart to make that note for Europeans. When the Stanley Parable launched to massive success in 2013, its creators made plans to build the property into an entire franchise. They didn't. But a disastrous critical and commercial reception to the Stanley Parable 2 has prompted the developers to rethink their ambitions, as outlined in a press release they published today. It's clear that more Stanley Parable is just not what fans want, reads the press release. We thought we had a vision for the series that the players would be excited about, yet it turns out this could not be further from the truth. The press release goes on to promise to preserve the artistic integrity of the original game and to stop insulting fans with their reckless and insulting creative visions. The word sorry appears more than 25 times in the press release. It is so depressing to like be in a world where more or less this happened. That's not crows. Also Snip Sweemy. But like the idea of developers making a sequel, like it's clear that more Stanley Parable is just not what fans want. We thought we had a vision for the series that players would be excited about, yet it turns out we could not have been further from the truth. Who says what goes into a sequel? Like, who is like automatically right about like the developers don't know the essence of their game. They don't understand what made the original thing so enjoyable. It was these little gags, not the new ones. Those ones are bad. The Bloom is fucked up on this. But rather than expand on what made the first game enjoyable, the sequel veers off into territory nobody asked for. An infinitely deep hole, who cares? Where are the new endings? What about the enjoyable bits from Stanley Parable 1, like the adventure line? Instead, we get an uninspired side quest collecting figurines. Even this diversion feels incomplete. Collecting all the figurines gives you nothing. Complaining about something that the game directly tells you about. Like, the game tells you, hey, the figurines, they're just for fun. Like, isn't it funny? But then reviews like that are like, why do I get nothing for doing this thing? It's like, fans don't know what fans want, and fans who do want more of the same don't want a new thing. But if the original developer said, okay, I made this thing, I want to make something new, why are people getting mad? Like, we just want what your old thing was. That's it. Yeah, I am probably gonna end after this epilogue, but this, like, so perfectly encapsulates like that feeling I had when I was watching the marathon stream, because it's like so many people are shouting on social media like, this isn't what Bungie fans want. They only want more Destiny, or they only want more Halo. They don't want this 3v3 shooter from them. It's like, are you speaking for all of the fans? Are you creating this fan in your brain? Are you creating this fan in your mind? Is that what you want from them? Do you want more Halo? Like, you can buy that. Don't buy that now because of various different reasons. But like, if you want the old game is there. You can, quote unquote, still play Destiny 1. Destiny 2 still exists. Like, why would you assume that people who are fans of this company only want them to do the old thing again? Why would they not be excited for something new that that the same company wants to do? Why would the same company want to do the same thing that they already did over 10 years ago? Like, it's one thing to go back and like do remakes and like re-releases and remasters. Like, if there's a pure intent of going behind and doing that, like, I like Resident Evil 4 remake. I'm containing my excitement as much as I can for like the possibility of Persona 4 remake being real, but that's not going to be the original game. That's not going to be the vanilla P4 that I fell in love with. It's not going to be the Persona 4 Golden that is in my Vita on my desk right next to me right now. That's going to be a different game. Persona 3 is different from Persona 3 Fez, which is different from Persona 3 Portable, which is different from Persona 3 Reload. Like, those are all different games that do have similar aspects to them, but they all are different. They all do similar things, or at least do the same thing, but differently. Like, that was a big debate between P3 Fez and P3P, where the full AI party member control were like directing them, saying, hey, conserve SP, like, go all out, do whatever you want. Like, that felt like a core aspect of Persona 3. Like, you were the team leader, but you didn't have direct commands over those people. That's what made Junpei having his own arc dealing with Chidori so impactful. Why Yukari and Mitsuru having their own relationship was interesting. Why Akihiko and Shinji have his own thing. Why Koromaru, Ken, and then Ken with Akihiko had their own thing, and then I guess had her own thing, kind of bouncing off of you. But like, not having direct control over them, and you not being the most central important person in their lives, was such a big thing about that game, which is why when Persona 3 Portable added direct commands, it didn't change a majority of the game. Sure, it turned most of it into a visual novel, but it didn't change those core aspects of the game. It just gave you more direct control over party members because it released after Persona 4. And if you're releasing after Persona 4, and like the big innovation with that was direct party commands, why not do it? But then there were complaints that doing that robbed the game of that feeling. It robbed that game of like, oh, these aren't people that I'm working with and that I'm understanding. Like, these are just characters I have control over. And then now we got back to Persona 3 Reload, which also has direct party commands, but it also has so much more of the flourish and all the lessons that they learned from Persona 4 Golden, from Persona 5 Royal. Like, who is any one random fan, or even a non fan, to say, like, oh, the developers don't know the spirit of the original? Maybe developers want to do something different. Maybe they're unsatisfied with the original. All because a lot of people like the original doesn't mean that the developer was. Maybe that's why they didn't want to make a sequel. Maybe it was a testing bed for something else that they wanted to do. Like, the two lines that get me so much about this is this last paragraph. The press release goes on to promise to preserve the artistic integrity of the original game and to stop assaulting fans with our reckless and insulting creative visions. The word sorry appears more than 25 times in the press release. How this is Silent Hill 2. Um to stop assaulting fans with our reckless, insulting creative visions. That's just being mad at people for making art. Like, all because the sequel is different. I think the core of this is just that it doesn't matter how close, how similar, or how different you make like a sequel. There's always going to be people that hate you for just not being the first game again. You're not releasing the same thing that you already released, or you're not doing the thing that you already did before that a lot of people liked, or in some people's cases, a lot of people didn't like. But because you're not doing the same thing again, those people are going to be upset and they're like, you didn't understand what made your game so good. Or, or, maybe the first game did something that you just prefer. Maybe something that was rough around the edges was a charm point for you. Something that the developers wanted to change, or something that the developers want to iterate on, or something that the developers felt like they ran out of ideas on and wanted to try something new. Like, so many people get so mad about there not being like a bunch of new original ideas, especially in like the AAA space and like big budget. But we've seen this happen. We've seen this happen multiple times where people get so mad that the sequel or the iteration of this thing isn't the same as the thing that came before. So if people aren't gonna like the sequel because it's different, what makes you think they're gonna like the new thing? So why not just make a sequel that's not very derivative? Just make it very similar, or make it slightly build on top of this thing, or make it so that you can avoid the new things that you don't like, so that it's basically the same game again. Like, what's the point in creativity if you don't want things to change? Like, you can have your original game. A sequel coming out isn't going to. Not usually. Usually, a sequel coming out doesn't delete the original game. There have been a couple cases where that was the thing. That is unfortunate. Sometimes that happens. Not an excuse. But the original game should not be deleted if a sequel comes out. But 90% of the time, 90% of the time, when a sequel comes out, the original will remain. The original Resident Evil 4 is still around, and then there's still the remake. There's still the original RE3 remake. There's still original RE3. Then there's the RE3 remake. There's RE2. There's RE1. Then there's RE1 remake. There's Final Fantasy 12, and then there's Final Fantasy 12 Zodiac Edition. Zodiac Age. I keep forgetting that one. The proper title of it. Like, the original game existing is preserving the artistic integrity of the original game. All because you don't like the sequel doesn't mean that you doesn't make the first game worse. You cannot like what the second game did. You cannot like what the third game did. In your own mind, you can say like the the third game is separate from the other ones because it ruins the continuity. Hell, Because I'm kind of no. This is actually a really good example. Because 100 line like just came out, and like I'm excited about that game. I want to stream that game because it sounds very interesting to me. Um, and it's made by and it's written by two developers that have burned people. I won't say that they burned me. Um, you have Kodaka from Dangan 1, Dangan 2, Dangan V3, and then the Danganronpa animes. A lot of people didn't like the animes. A lot of people didn't like V3. I liked V3. Um, but then there's Ukiyoshi, who wrote 9 Hours, 9 Doors, nine people, 9 hours, 9 doors, 999, Virtue's Last Reward, and Zero Time Dilemma. I got burned on Zero Time Dilemma. I did not like Zero Time Dilemma. I think it had a lot of very cool and funny things in it, but I was very upset as a fan who was very excited from VLR. But then he also made AI the Somnium Files and then Nirvana Initiative, and I adore those games. Um, and like, I might have been upset with ZTD, Zero Time Dilemma, but ow, my eye. But I still deeply love 999. I still deeply love Virtue's Last Reward. I think Virtue's Last Reward is probably one of, if not my favorite visual novels. Um, I still, I still love Dangan V3. V3 has one of my favorite endings in any video game, legitimately. Um, and the idea of both of them working together on a new game makes me very excited. It's not going to be the old one. It's not going to be, um, it's not going to be a Zero Escape game. It's not going to be Danganronpa. The inspirations and the styles might be there, sure. Um, but it's different. I like when creatives that I like try something new. Sometimes it doesn't work out, but I'm still hopeful for when it does. And even if it doesn't work out, it's not going to degrade the original game, even if it's a direct sequel. Like, if that thing means so much to you, you don't need to defend it. You don't need to preserve it in, like, this immovable box. It doesn't need to be protected from time. It doesn't need to be protected from the artists themselves. That's an unhealthy relationship with art. Just enjoy it. See that it was made by somebody at this time when they made it, with their own ideas, with their own thoughts and perspective, and a culmination of various different things that led up to that thing being made. And that's fine. Like, nobody's gonna take that from you. Nobody can take that from you. As many of the issues that I have with Persona 4 Golden, because I think it kind of lessens some of the feel from the original Persona 4. One, I still played that emulated. Legally. I played the PS2 emulation on PS3. I played that legally. But that's a different experience than if I played it on original hardware. But that's also different from people who played Golden. Like, but that doesn't stop that experience from meaning so much to me. Like, there's no perfect way of preserving like your unique version or what your idea of that perfect piece of art is. Emotion Engine for being such a complete clusterfuck. That too. Sometimes certain games get ported to different engines. They're like, hey, here's a re-release, but then it looks completely different, then it also feels completely different, and then it's not great. But that is also my point. Because even if you don't have that same feeling, like, oh, this doesn't really make me feel the same way as it did before, that other thing could be special to somebody else's. Oh, may I? Like that re release, while it might not hit the same parts that the original did for you, I don't know why there's something in my eye. While a re release might not hit the same parts that it did for you, maybe it is somebody else's first time playing it. Maybe it still hits them in a unique way. And even if like certain things are missing that you think were integral, um, that there's certain revisions or additions or changes that you think made the thing lesser, there's a bunch of people who experience that for the first time, and to them, that's their version of it. To them, that's their perfect piece of art that they never want changed. Oh, may I? On the mention of that PS2 engine, yeah, GTA 3 looks so drastically different. Like depending on what it's running on. That thing is so weird. Um, but yeah, even something like that, where it's like different across multiple, even it's different across multiple engines, even if it's the same game. If it's on multiple platforms, if it's the same game, like sure, the small parts that matter to you, like of course, will matter to you, but if those aren't there, but somebody else also has that close of an experience with it, who are you to say that their experience is lesser? Like, yeah, I'll complain about the fog and stuff for like Persona 4 because of the, like that's important thematically, but for some people the themes like that weren't important. For some people it was the relationships that they made. For some people it was the S-Link system. For some people it was the dungeon crawling. For some people it was being in this podunk town with really nothing to do. Like there's so many different reasons and different ways that people can become attached to a piece of media or a game. Saying that like a creator or a developer or a studio is assaulting fans with their reckless and insulting creative visions, you're just, you don't understand art at that point. You want a product, a cheeseburger that's made the same way every time from different restaurants, but they're all under the same name. You want a product that is easily reproduced, that you can go to and get whenever you want it, instead of something that you should enjoy and savor while it's there. Art and artists deserve to change, and they deserve to do something new. If you like their older work will hopefully still be there. But if they also do something new, why not at least cheer them on? Maybe they'll make something even better than the first. Even if it's not better for you. It's nice to see you. But it's terrible to learn that there will never be another Stanley Parable game. Did you read what the developer said? Preserve the integrity of the franchise? What nonsense. The Stanley Parable is not sacred. We do not need to protect it. Screw the legacy. Let's keep making Stanley Parable games until the sun explodes. Let's run this franchise into the ground. Let's drag it through the mud and back. And if people hate it, who cares? You see, that was the narrator's problem. He was so obsessed with what people thought of his work. Don't make his mistake. Don't cling to the legacy. Let it burn. It's not hard. In fact, let me show you. Together we are going to make the Stanley Parable 5. It's simple. All we do is change the number in the game's title screen. We also need a really dumb subtitle for the game, something loud and gaudy. Go ahead, try combining some random words together to make a new title for our game. Now, with added boyfriends. The Stanley Parable 5, now with added boyfriends. It's absurd. I love it. Every time you restart the game, we'll advance the number of the sequel by 1, and then we'll pick a new subtitle. That way, the Stanley Parable will never end. And nothing in the game itself will change when you do this either. Adding more content sounds like work. No need to do that. It'll just be the same content, recycled again and again and again with a new title screen. What do you say? Should we go forward with this plan? I like it, but I want you to have say as well. Good, then it's agreed. A new sequel every time you start the game. And you know what? Since you put faith in my idea, I feel like giving you something as well. You see, I'm noticing that the narrator never found a way to give you the broken achievement, did he? Of course not. I wouldn't expect him to know how. It's been bothering me. Let's fix it. Alright, there. The achievement machine is all fixed. You see? I'm on your side. We're in this together. We're going to keep this train rolling. The Stanley Parable cannot end, and it can only spiral in on itself forever. I must keep the wheel turning. I'm ready. Are you ready? Great. And there's only one last thing we need to do. Thank you. Please enjoy the Stanley Parable.